Yeah, I grew up in at Foster, yeah. My parents had a farm out on the Promontory Road towards Yanaki, a beef farm, and I grew up there. And I've still got a little bit of that farm that was inherited. Yeah, so I feel very lucky to have that connection, you know, so that country that I rode my pony on when I was a little kid, my grandchildren have now got a cubby on. Well, I trained as a high school art teacher and I really loved it, but I didn't actually like having to go to school all the time and tell kids off and stuff like that. So when I was pregnant with our first baby, I was desperately thinking of a job that I could do from home. And Eddie had just started working for a law firm in Pakenham, and we moved out there. So I didn't know anyone in the area, and I had a little baby and was very isolated, and knew that there was no way I was organised enough to get my baby into daycare and go to school every day. So I'd worked for a little while for the correspondence school in Melbourne, and when I was doing that, I started decorating or illustrating the little brochures the kids got their work in, because this was well before the internet. And a couple of people had said, why don't you have a go at illustrating children's books? So I rang Oxford University Press and was just very lucky that the editor said, come in and see me, and we got on like a house on fire. And I started illustrating then. And I did that for 5 years and then started writing my own work. So it was very lucky that it all came together that way. I don't think it would have taken much to put me off. Like, I don't know if I hadn't gone anywhere on that first phone call, I don't know that I would have persevered. It's usually the words, though often I can see what I want it to look like. I'm working on a book at the moment that started, I'm not quite sure how this came into my mind. I think I have a tiny little book at home that was my mother-in-law's when she was a little girl, that she wrote, called Aunt Millie. And Aunt Millie is a little person who comes from outer space into her room and flies around. And I think that's what gave me the idea for a book about, that's really like a lullaby for a child going to sleep at night, that starts off saying something like, when you go to bed tonight, be sure to leave a tiny light, so twinkles in the stars above can find you when they bring their love. They'll arrow down past Mars and Moon. Oh, anyway, so that's what I have before I've even written anything. I'll have a lot of that in my head, and that's just hours of lying awake at night, or driving, or riding my horse, or walking and thinking about it as I go. Yeah. And as I think up those words, I start to think what it's going to look like, what size the book will be, and what sort of illustrations would go with it. And then I think of more practical things, like it's a little bit like Kissed by the Moon, so I have to make sure that it doesn't look too much like that, that I use some different technique that makes it, you know, people don't say, oh, she's just doing the same thing again. If I get my skates on and I get working, I can usually do a book in 6 months or so, but I generally only do a book a year because there's just so much life to fit in as well. I go for weeks when I don't work at all. I love being able to read stuff that just has that beautiful beat to it, and I don't like it when I'm interrupted when I'm reading aloud. Sometimes I'll read something and I think, oh, they should have, even in songs when they kind of jam a couple of words in, it's not right. I think, oh, they should have fixed that up. So it is something that I really like to hear, just that lovely flow of words where it all just is quite seamless the way it goes along. Well, it's like a window to the world, isn't it? You know, that once you can read, you can do anything, you can go anywhere. It's been interesting seeing my eldest grandchildren learn to read, because I can remember struggling with John and Betty in grade 2, so that's quite old now. And then I think I remember my kids being able to read when they went to school, but maybe I'm imagining that. So these two who are in prep this year, I thought they'd be able to read by the time they went to school, but they're still learning. And now they're both bowling along, but it was difficult seeing them struggle when I just assumed because they'd been read to so much they would just fall into it. But I think it is a real developmental thing that they just read when they're ready, and it's wrong to push them. But I just love the freedom reading gives you, that once you can read easily, you can just pick up anything and go anywhere. It's, and then by exploring all those places in books, it lets your own mind and imagination develop itself. It's like when someone tells a joke and what they tell you triggers one that you can remember, and books do that same thing. Oh, I think so, yeah. Like, I think as adults we all get terribly set in our ways, don't we? Like, it's every time we talk about politics, someone really believes one thing or the other, and the more you can imagine, I guess, you can think, well, maybe I'm not right, maybe I should be looking at something else. I think it's really important to imagine. But for kids, it's their world, really, because when you're a little kid, you don't have very much power, and you want to be able to imagine what your life can be like. And that's a very precious thing for kids to have. I get asked that question a lot, and I always say to kids that it's a bit like us having to say which one of my kids I like the best, and because I love them all in different ways. But it's usually a bit like the family in that the baby gets all the attention, so it's often the recent one. But because it now has such a long period of time, I guess it's often the books that are very close to the country that I love and the people that I love. So Kissed by the Moon and Magic Beach and My Farm and Are We There Yet, that still really resonate, yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people, I look at their work and just, you know, there's the perfect books like Where the Wild Things Are that you just think, wow, this is just magical, yeah. And I think there is something magical about how a book is made too, that I think no one knew that was going to be one of the best books ever in the world. So it's just that fluky thing as to whether a book hits the spot or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like, I see beautiful books that have just gone out into the world and kind of disappeared without a trace, just because either the marketing wasn't there or by some fluky thing they didn't get picked up. It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I just got a message from the publishers saying that the theatre company would like the rights to do it, and so they did, yeah. So I'm dying to see it. I haven't seen it yet. My daughter has seen it in Brisbane with her kids, and she said it was really lovely. So, yeah, such an honour to have your work chosen for something like that. And it's also being made into a movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Robert Connolly, who made Paper Planes. It's all lined up. The animators are already working on their sections. And I think the live action will be filmed early next year. And then I think it's premiering at the Melbourne Film Festival next year. So it's really real. We've been talking about it for years and years, and it's finally got off the ground, yeah. That first trip was remarkable on the Aurora Australis, which is finished now. It's gone off to Dubai to be refitted to work again as an icebreaker, but I don't know that it will work for the Antarctic Division. But to have that 6-week voyage where we went across to Mawson and then back to Casey and then Macquarie Island, and every night of the 6 weeks I emailed kids around the world and got them to send me drawings, and then did the project. The Kids Antarctica project was just wonderful, yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of work in indigenous communities. Early on, it was just off my own bat, really. I think when Gunbalanya in Arnhem Land, that community asked Liz Honey and I to go and do a project, so we made some books there. And then over the years with the Top End Group Schools and the Ian Thorpe Foundation, and then the Indigenous Literacy Foundation is who I work with all the time now. And it's really been such a privilege and a pleasure to go out to communities. And early on we were doing murals and things like that, and sometimes now when I go, my friend Marie will come and she'll do stuff like that, but I'm always working on books. And they're usually books, sometimes the community will say we want to do a book about this. Like last year at Bidjidanga, the ILF went there, and because the community had said that they would like a couple of books, and one was a book about bodies for kids and one was a colour book. And so we went and worked with ladies in the community and did they did beautiful artwork, and now they've got these lovely board books. There was a wonderful indigenous photographer called Wayne Quillam who came, and he took lovely pictures of the kids. So the designer has put these beautiful pictures of kids all painted up with, these are my eyes, and then there's drawings of kids' eyes as well. And I think they have been printed in 6 different languages that are all languages within that community. So just a wonderful thing for communities to have access to books in language that are really about their lives, not something, you know, that doesn't relate to them. It says, "Sing me the summer, the sparkling sea, our buckets and spades on the sand, shells by the rock pools where tiny fish swim and a crab scuttles over my hand. Pineapple, apricot, strawberry, peach, we have a picnic right here on the beach. Sing me the summer, the sun shining bright, here is the day and here is the night." This is gar fishing at Walkerville. "Always in autumn the mornings are cooler, the trees let their leaves flutter down. They gather beneath and we run through the piles of orange and yellow and brown." And I think the whole Geelong football team is blaming me for putting this kid in a Richmond jumper instead of a Geelong one. Anyway, the colours wouldn't have worked if they were blue and white. "The birds start their journey, together they fly. I watch them become tiny specks in the sky. Always in autumn, a soft golden light. Here is the day and here is the night." It's a family having an autumn dinner outside together. "Watch for the winter mist over the paddock, and on the horizon a storm. There's ice on the car, we hear the wind rattling the windows, but inside we're warm. We put on our coats and go out to explore the tumbling river. Can you hear it roar? Watch for the winter, the bonfire burns bright. Here is the day and here is the night." They're having a big bonfire. "Show me the springtime, bees buzz in the blossom and wildflowers bend in the breeze. The air sweet and warm as it touches my face, and the long grass comes up to our knees. The birds in their nests, the veggies in rows, the lambs with their mothers, everything grows. Show me the springtime, the wattle so bright. Here is the day and here is the night." They're camping out by themselves, and the big sister is telling a scary story. "Now I hear summer, the north wind is blowing through gum trees, making them sway. Leaves and bark crackle and roos on the hill leap through the dust and away. It's back to the beach, summer's come round again. Clouds low on the water, then cool falling rain. We jump in the waves with their silvery spray. So sing me the summer as night," they're sleeping out on the porch, "turns to day." And that's the end of Sing Me the Summer.